All the material used in installing these gutters can be purchased at Home Depot or Lowe's. They sell lengths of 10-foot gutters, and if you need longer, you're going to have to use a seam. You can see there's a seam here. Professional installers have a machine that rolls out and forms exactly how much gutter length you need, so they can go 40-50 feet easy in all one piece and not have any seams. The one thing you have to consider when putting up your gutter is it needs to drop towards the drain about an inch every 20 feet. This gutter is just over 20 feet, but if you had a 40-foot span, you would need 2 downspouts, so you'd have the high end in the middle and both left and right sides would drop down an inch. I picked up all these materials at Home Depot, but here in Lowe's you can see they have roughly the same stuff. It's exactly the same shape. Also, you can get it in vinyl, so if you want to do a plastic rain gutter system, the good thing about plastic is it is easier to cut, and the sealant you're going to use is more like a PVC sealant, so you're not going to use the same sealant you do on the metal gutters. The first thing I'm going to do is run the chalk line string all the way across the gutter and snap a perfectly level horizontal line, and this is going to be where the base of the gutter is. Now that I got a good horizontal line, I'm going to lower it 1 inch on the gutter side only and snap a second line. And this will give me the right amount of drop so that the water flows to the downspout. To cut the gutters, you can use a jigsaw with a blade, but I'm just going to use my arm saw. It cuts it really nice. Next, I'm going to snap on the end cap. And tap it on with a mallet. And then crimp it a little with some pliers. Just give it a slight bit of a bend when you squeeze. Then use some gutter sealant. It's going to be right in the same section that you buy all your other materials. You're not going to have to go to the paint section at Home Depot or Lowe's. And this is what I used. It looks like silicone, but it's not the same stuff. And you can see this is the hardware that I'm going to be using to attach it to the roof. It's just one piece of bent metal and a screw. It clips in just like that, real simple. First one I placed 6 inches from the end. This is one that Lowe's sells. Looks a little different, but it's exactly the same. You can see it's got a hook. It clips in underneath and just slips right on. Here I'm placing a bracket every 2 feet. You'll find it's a lot easier putting the screws in on a bench than up on a ladder, so get them started here and then bring it up. And if you need a joining bracket, slip one on. You can do this yourself if you're holding the middle of the rain gutter and balancing it, but it's a lot easier to start on one end and have someone else hold it. So I'm lining up the bottom of the rain gutter with the chalk line that tapers downward, and then just screwing it right in. And before I screw each screw, I make sure that it's still following the taper. Then add as many segments as you need, slip them in. It seems like it's a little easier to put this in if you angle it down first. And then once the bottom part is in, then you can push it up to get the top part of the gutter in the slot. Once you do that, get some pliers and bend and crimp the top of the joint. And you use a lot of sealant on both sides. You want to feather it out. Make sure you got a nice good clean seal. Okay, now to mark where the downspouts are going to go, I'm placing my level against this edge of the wall, and it's long and straight enough to reach the gutter, so I don't have to really measure anything. If you get a very straight beam, you can just place it right against the wall, put it up against your gutter, and you're going to know where the downspout needs to go. You're going to find this whole process to be pretty easy, I think, and if there is a difficult part, this would be it. It's cutting the hole for the downspout. Now, Home Depot and Lowe's only sells this rectangular piece for the downspout. If you don't have any way to cut it out, you can get a gutter piece here. The only downside to using one of these is you have 2 more seams. But other than that, it's really clean. This might make your project go a lot faster, and you don't need to buy any extra tools. So you might want to pick up one of these instead of cutting a downspout. Now, they do make circular downspout drops, but I haven't seen them. Home Depot and Lowe's didn't have them, and I didn't have time on this project to order one. But if you do find one, you're going to use a drill saw like this and knock out a hole pretty easy. You can see it cuts a nice clean hole. You can also cut a hole with a jigsaw if that's what you have. Blades that are used for cutting metal, you can see here they're kind of wavy, and you're going to need one of those. You can't use a wood bit to cut metal, it just doesn't work. You can see jigsaws will cut really easy. Now this last way is the way I would recommend. Start with drawing the rectangle. Next, drill a starting hole. And using tin snips, cut a spiral out. If you cut thin spiral strips, you can get really close to the edge easily. Next, drill your rivet holes. Then put on some sealant, and you can do a better job than I'm doing. This is just demo, so it's kind of sloppy. Then stick it to the bottom of the gutter and put in your rivets. This is what it looks like. You don't have to do a perfect job cutting the hole, and it should hold up just fine. If you've wondered about using tin snips to cut, well, they do cut the flat parts great, but when you get to a corner, it's really hard to cut corners and keep the shape of the gutter. So these are almost useless for doing gutters. It's going to take way too long and bend your metal. And I thought it would be good to try out a few ways to do it, so I tried this roto zip, and it is squirrely. These are great for cutting out drywall, but they are tough to control when cutting a rain gutter. With this, you're going to need a metal cutting bit as well, and I am really working hard to control this blade. It is the fastest way to do it, but I am not kidding when I say it is hard to control perfectly. Once you got your hole, you can put in your downspout drop. I'm putting in a few holes here for rivets. First, a bead of sealant around the drop. And this piece is actually made out of vinyl. It's the only piece of vinyl in the whole job. And if you don't have rivets, you can use screws, but rivets work really well. You can buy this riveting tool at Home Depot or Lowe's. You can also get a cheap one at Harbor Freight. And these rivets are made out of aluminum, so they're never going to rust on you. After you put the rivets in, put on some more sealant all the way around the edge. Now I'm slipping on the first part of the downspout. This one actually changes angles to match the side of the wall I'm going to be mounting to. And I'm going to put on one screw here just to secure it from falling down. All this is just as easy to cut. I'm just using the circular saw again. Not even a special blade. Now to mount into masonry or hardboard, clapboard, a lot of even wood, you can use these plastic expanding anchors. You slip one of these in, and when the screw gets placed inside, it expands the plastic and grips really tight. This is a metal strap that's going to hold the downspout to the wall. Now I'm kinking the ends here so I can fit it inside the last piece. It's a little difficult how it folds in on itself. So for every piece, the piece above has to go inside the piece below it. Otherwise, water will flick right out of the connections. I'm going to place another little screw here just to stop this from slipping off. So there's the downspout. You can see the piece above is already pre-kinked on this end, and it slips right into the one below it. Again, the one above goes inside the one below. You can bend these straps over. And just put a couple galvanized screws in. Galvanized means they're not going to rust on you. For this downspout, I only need 2 straps to hold it on. Now here's where you have options. In this case, all I'm doing is adding a section of drain pipe to keep the water from pooling right at the foundation. Another way is to use this corrugated drain pipe. It gets buried underneath the ground, and you can have a pop out. When the water comes down the gutter, it floods out here, keeps it all away from the house. My name's Adam. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer. It's a really easy process. I really don't think anybody would have trouble doing this. Just give yourself a full Saturday and have some fun. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your project.